It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge Live for Wednesday, September 3rd, with your hosts, me, Ray, in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and Zach. Well, he's still in Washington, D.C., at least until he gets on a train later today to head to the big city, a city so nice they named it twice, New York, New York, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today, Zach?
Doing well. I'm really excited to be here, Dad. Wednesday, September 3rd. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and spending some of your day with me and my dad with CarEdge Live. Friendly reminder, folks, we can help you out with anything buying a car without the headache. Go to CarEdge.com. We continue. Runs for just a few more days here. Labor less, save more, shop like a pro this Labor Day. 20% off CarEdge Insights, which are the tools we use to get you the best deal, or our car buying services, CarEdge Concierge and Negotiation Expert. Check them out back at CarEdge.com. And again, 20% off for a limited time. Dad, the story I wanted to cover this morning are price increases for new vehicles, even though customers are out there saying, I don't think we can afford these things. That being said, we did get August sales data, and it is surprisingly robust. So we're going to start here, Dad. First things first, Subaru. Been raising prices like crazy. 2026 Subaru Forester Wilderness price increase is $2,100. Nissan's also increasing the price of the Kicks. Lincoln Navigator, however, Dad, year over year getting a price decline. The Dodge Charger EV getting a price increase as well. The Daytona getting a price decrease. So we've got a little bit of a mix here, although if I go to page 2, Audi has increased pricing of their vehicles. Chevy increasing the pricing of their Equinox EV. There are many, many, many vehicles, Dad. Obviously, the Toyota vehicles, like we've covered in the past, not going up that much. Many vehicles in the new 26 model year seeing their prices go up significantly, even though customers, at least the folks we talk to, say they can't afford it. What's going on here? How are they doing these price increases, but people say they can't afford them, but sales are actually up? It doesn't make sense.
It does if you realize who they're trying to sell cars to. You have heard me say this before, and I will say it yet again. There is a huge chasm between the haves and the have-nots. And your automobile manufacturers today are only concerned with the haves, and they could care less about the have-nots. Okay? What's available for the have-nots will be robo-taxis in major metropolitan areas, Uber and Lyft, and otherwise, the well-heeled customers that are out there that are still buying cars and helping to grow the automotive market, well, they'll just continue to do that. They will continue to buy and shop as if there is nothing wrong when obviously the vast majority, say 83 to 85% of the population, feels like they can't participate. It is a divided country in many, many ways, but financially, when it comes to automobiles, these manufacturers are only concerned with those who have and could care less about those who have not.
We're just starting to get the August data, Dad, for sales that happened last month. And it is interesting to see here. Ford sales are up. Hyundai Genesis sales are up. Kia sales were up. Mazda sales were up, actually. Or excuse me, these sales are up for the first 8 months of the year. But when we look month over month, Mazda sales were actually down year over year for the month of May. But for the most part, Dad, it's actually a very rosy picture, especially when you look at this year compared to last. Like, these automakers for the year are selling more cars on average. These three reporting automakers are up 7.7% in terms of sales year over year for the first 8 months of this year. So it's hard for me to reconcile what you're saying, which is like, sure, there's the haves and the have-nots. The haves can afford to buy and lease cars. The have-nots are driving around in those robo-taxis, Ubers, and Lyfts. These automakers have all, for the most part, gone up market. And again, I just referenced some of the upcoming price increases with the new model year changeover. Yet their sales are still going up. We've been saying this forever, that we would expect sales to go down. And yes, when you do look just at August, Mazda sales were down 7.6% year over year. But still, for the whole year, they're up 3.5%. So it's hard for me to reconcile what you and I have been talking about for so long, which is eventually the well runs dry. There's not enough well-heeled customers to sustain this industry. But the automakers just keep proving us wrong.
Well, that's because there's enough people in the 15% of the population that can afford to buy a new car that that 15% of the population is large enough to sustain the industry.
Yeah.
The key words that you said before is that many of these manufacturers have gone up market. One of the things we talked about yesterday with Mazda, where they have intentionally increased the vehicles for sale in the range of the CX-50, CX-70, and CX-90 because, well, those have greater profit margins for both the dealer and Mazda manufacturing, and well, they need those profit margins to help offset added costs that they have incurred today. So what seems to be hard to reconcile isn't, in my mind. I think if you did a man on the street interview, you would find that many people are very content either with the car that they already have, or with utilizing public transportation or other forms of transportation to get around. I'm just that 15% of the population is substantial enough to allow the automobile manufacturers to expect to sell somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 million new vehicles this year. Is that a big deal? Well, 16 million new vehicles. Well, yeah, they sold about 16 million new vehicles the year before. And the year before, I mean, the number of sales is relatively stagnant over the last 50 years. The population has not remained stagnant over the last 50 years. So all that indicates to me is that the manufacturers understand there's only a small percentage of the population that can actually afford to buy their new cars, and they are just catering to them. And those who can't, those who find it more difficult, they're going to have to do something other than buy a new car. And so when you go back that 50 years and you see what was being sold new car wise 50 years ago and what's being sold new car wise this year, it is evident to me. Just it's as plain as day that what manufacturers consider to be well-heeled customers, and well-heeled customers to manufacturers might be $100,000 and above income levels.
Sure,
that's enough. That's enough.
Now we are seeing, Dad, relatively high incentives, although they're actually down a little bit month over month, but up just a touch, $38 year over year. So manufacturers are maybe feeling a little bit of pressure. That's a bit of a stretch. Incentives average $3,105 in August, down $7 from July, up $38 year over year. So that's another thing I look at here to maybe, counterbalance what you're saying, which is, okay, they're only trying to accommodate those that make six figures or more. But when we see incentives go up, that's usually, because the vehicles aren't selling, they have to lower the prices. But we used to see incentives significantly higher than this, way over $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. So unfortunately, it's flat, which is better than down, but it's not up, which is what we would need to see. That would really indicate, okay, there's some weakness in the market. Manufacturers are having to step up. They are on EVs, which is a totally different story. But when it comes to overall, incentives are kind of flat, unfortunately.
I think incentives are kind of flat. Sales so far in the June, July, August time frame are down somewhat compared to the first quarter of the year or the second quarter of the year, but they are not as down as what many pundits had predicted it would be. I just think that speaks volumes about those who can, and those who can seem to, regardless of the payments being the average new car payment today being $750 a month, regardless of the fact that almost 20% of all new loans for new vehicles today are for 84 months or more. Regardless of those factors, forgetting the fact that insurance has gone up dramatically, maintenance has gone up.
Yeah.
Regardless of all that, the people who have money feel as if they can still participate. The people that have less money are struggling to participate. It is never been more evident to me that there are basically two Americas, one who can afford to buy goods and services, and the other who struggles to buy goods and services.
And that's
Those
exacerbated here in the auto industry when you're talking about the average transaction price of new cars close to 50 grand and the average transaction price for used cars north of $25,000. Both have gone up significantly over the past few years.
Yes, so it is just it's a microcosm of what this country has become. And for those of us, and I will include myself as part of those of us who can afford these things, it's for us it's okay. So things are a little more expensive, but we can still afford things. For most of the people in this country, it is, my God, things are more expensive. We don't know how we're going to be able to put enough food on the table or be able to pay the rent to keep a roof over our heads. It is really uh, two Americas, and I. It's unfortunate, but I feel okay because I'm in that part of America that's surviving nicely at the moment.
Evidently, Pops, you've got your lease, but you obviously chose a Mazda CX-30. You're leasing it. It's under $350 a month that you're spending.
$374. It's under $400. Yeah, I mean, people say, well, how can you get it? It was pretty easy, to get a vehicle under $400 a month, because I didn't need to have the biggest, most extravagant, most luxurious vehicle out there. I got what I needed. How I joke and I say my Mazda CX-30 is basically like a Nissan Xterra in the sense that it's got everything I need and nothing I don't. And for those of you old enough to remember the Nissan Xterra, their tagline was, it's got everything you need, nothing you don't. And, sometimes in life, you should just be willing to get by with what you need and not what you don't.
I hear you loud and clear. And the fact that we see automakers continue to increase their prices, their MSRPs, I think will just continue to put more pressure on this market. And eventually, who knows? I've been saying this for years, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're wrong. Would be be thrilled. It would be humbled if we're wrong. That being said, eventually you're going to ostracize so many people that want to buy vehicles from you that eventually you're going to need to cater to them again. You would expect we would see that, but hasn't happened.
You would think, and do I like admitting that we've been wrong? Absolutely. I hate to admit that, but it's obvious at this point in time, after the last 4 or 5 years, that as difficult as it's been for the vast majority of Americans, the manufacturers have honed in on the people who can do things, and they are content to just sell cars to those people. Now, at some point in the future, could we be proven right? I don't know, but maybe I'll be alive at that time. I don't know. So it's just it would seem it stands to reason that something has to change, saying that, but they've proven over the last 4 or 5 years it don't. And that's not correct English, and I apologize for that. But it's obvious that it doesn't seem to have to change.
Yeah. Let's jump to the chat, Dad. We've had some really thoughtful contributions come in from Mark. Thank you, Mark. As of September 2025, Tesla Q2 sales deliveries 384,122 vehicles, production 410,244 vehicles, inventory low and depleting Model Y L sold out for September. Long range maybe sold out for September.
Yeah.
I feel like Tesla has done really well with some of their vehicles and really poorly, obviously, with like the Cybertruck.
The Cybertruck did not turn out to be the vehicle that they thought it was going to be as far as sales volume. But has Tesla done a good job of creating a market for their other vehicles. They have. When you consider the fact that sedans are a dying breed in this country, and well, I'm pretty sure a lot of those Teslas are sedans. So yeah, there is a market if you're marketing them correctly, if you've created an interest in them. So yeah, give Tesla their flowers for trying to maintain their space in the market. Obviously their percentages are down as far as the percentage of the market that they own. That's declined dramatically, but that's because there's so many more players in the EV space.
Dad, let's come here from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, for the kind contribution.
Thank you.
One of the complaints, I hear from the truck community is trucks now are only luxury trims, high cost. Nothing wrong with a luxury trim, but give us a base trim for strictly work vehicles for less money. This is another thing that we've seen the automakers do. So not only do we have MSRPs going up model year over model year, we also have what we've called trimflation.
Yes.
Just getting rid of the entry-level options and producing fewer of them. We saw this actually to a degree yesterday, Dad, with Mazda. It's not only trimflation, it's just model deflation. Like that was the big story yesterday. They're producing fewer of their entry-level options and more of their more expensive vehicles. So yeah, I think Andrew's spot on, Dad. You want to go out there and buy a new car, good luck finding base level things, entry level things within any model or make or model category. These manufacturers have made the strategic decision to only make platinums, King Ranches. What was the Ram one? Tungsten trim. More and more.
When you look at some of the Cadillacs and the Yukons and all the big ass SUVs, and you look at the price points, okay, and the price points are like $80,000 and above, and they sell. Okay, that shows you right there that they are just catering to that one group of the population. And it's that one group that can afford those luxury trucks and those luxury SUVs, and they are uninterested in buying any of those vehicles if they are not fully equipped.
Yeah.
And the ultimate in luxury. So it just reinforces what we said earlier in the program, that the manufacturers have realized who their buyers are, and they are catering to the buyers. We know, when you look at sales stats, we know that the lower priced, less well-equipped vehicles sell slower than the higher priced, higher equipped vehicles. So I know from when I was still in retail automotive that you didn't carry a lot of the entry level vehicles, and when you did, oftentimes they sat because people always seem to want more than what it is they really need. One of the things that they taught us early in selling, and I would recommend this to customers out there. One of the things that was taught to salespeople was always start a customer on the least expensive vehicle you have and let them say, no, I need more equipment. And they will walk themselves up to the more expensive models because they don't want to do without. And what they're going to do without are things that they probably aren't going to utilize anyway. And I would suggest for a customer out there that's how you should start. Start at the lowest possible end of the spectrum and say, yeah, I think I could get by with, a modest amount of accessories in the vehicle. But most Americans, we want more than we need. And for whatever reason, maybe it's to impress our neighbors, I don't know. But for whatever reason, we are willing to spend more for things that we don't really need because well, it speaks volumes about us and who we are.
A little bit of a live experiment, Dad. I'm over here on the CarEdge car search. And what I want to show everyone is when you actually use the CarEdge car search, there's this little blurb that pops up at the top. And I want to read this really quickly.
Yes.
In 2025, it's more important than ever before to keep up with car price trends as the market changes. In Scottsdale, Arizona, the average used car sells for $33,355, while the average new car sells for $61,286.
Ooh.
And I'm just looking now, I put in Hyundai new, $55,900 MSRP on an Ioniq 5. It's the limited trim. Next to, though, so here's a good moment, an SCL trim Hyundai Elantra with a $25,000 MSRP. Let's keep scrolling down. $51,000, $48,000, $55,900, $74 freaking $1,000 for a Hyundai, Dad.
There is something wrong in the world when there's a $74,000 Hyundai. I'm sorry, there just is. That you shouldn't be able to have Hyundai and $74,000 in the same sentence. You just shouldn't, in my opinion.
This, to be clear, is also not scripted. Like, this is live. I just put in my old zip code where I grew up, 85254. Let's keep scrolling down here. 58, 43, 56. 33. So here we go. We've got a Tucson at the SCL trim, an Ioniq 6, 47, 57. I mean, $68,000 for a Hyundai. This is, folks, I mean, here we go. Finally, bottom of the page of two venues under $25,000, $26,000. This is just an example. Just put in Hyundai. Let's do, I don't know. You want to go somewhere else in the country, Dad? Where do you want to go?
Well, Scottsdale's obviously pretty well heeled. And so apparently the prices of cars are remind us of that. Go to a place like Tucson, Arizona, which realistically is not quite as wealthy an area as say Scottsdale might be.
All right, so give me a second. I got Vail, Arizona, Dad, down there near Tucson. But look at this. The average vehicle transaction prices are similar. But let's scroll down. Here we go. 25,000, 24,000, 25,000, 24,000, 25,000. Yay. This is what I would expect to see. And then obviously a couple here in the 40s and 50s. But this is more what I would expect to see, Dad, when I search for a Hyundai.
Now I don't know. Where do you want to go? You want to go to the middle of the country, Dallas, Texas?
Sure, let's go to Dallas. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get a zip code here.
You get a zip code, I'll have a sip.
You get a sip, I'll get a zip. All right. Coppell, Texas. I think that's pretty close to Dallas. Let's see.
I'll take your word for it.
1 second. We can all double check together. Come join me over on Google Maps. Coppell. Yeah, man. It's just a suburb of Dallas. There's Dallas. There's Coppell. I think we're in.
That's quite a ways from, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, you want to get closer to Dallas? We'll get closer.
Yeah, let's get closer to Dallas.
All right. How about Highland Park, this area?
Oh, yeah, Highland Park.
I need a zip code, folks. I need a zip code. What's the zip code of Highland Park, Texas? Highland Park zip code. Bear with me. Okay. Here we go. Ready?
Yes.
Come back over here. There we go. Now we're in Dallas, Texas. Let's just start with these stats up here at the top. The average used car in Dallas, Texas right now is selling for $34,861. The average new car in Dallas, Texas right now, which must be inflated by truck prices, must be $64,915. There's a 153 days supply of new cars and a 174 days supply of used cars in Dallas, Texas right now. Let's scroll down. Santa Fe Calligraphy. This is going to be your highest trim level. XRT, not one of your lowest trim levels. The price points, Dad, for Hyundai here seeming fairly reasonable. I haven't seen anything above 50 grand yet.
The fact that new vehicle average transaction prices are, for both new and used, are higher in the Dallas area than Scottsdale is pretty impressive.
Here's what I want to do, though. I want to go to Ford really quickly, and I anticipate seeing a lot of expensive pickup trucks. $60,000 expensive, $47,000 not that expensive, $32,000 for an Escape. That's a great price. Maverick at under 40. I mean, Dad, these prices actually are fairly surprising to me. I would anticipate seeing higher, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and you know what? You might find out that those lower priced ones don't sell as quickly as the much higher priced ones.
That's the dichotomy of all this. That's the challenge of all this, is like the higher price stuff is actually flying off the shelves,
Yes.
justifying the behavior of the automakers to the point we started the show on, which is they're raising prices for the new model year. And then the cheaper stuff, the less equipped stuff, even though people are asking for it, they're not buying it. So it's just confounding, man. Absolutely confounding.
It is. It is something that, for the life of me, I don't understand, and I think I prove that to the listening public on a daily basis.
Let's come here down from Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. Hello, y'all. I just wrapped up negotiating an out the door price on Toyota Tacoma Limited at $52,000, which is basically the invoice price. Thanks so much for all your advice and training. Absolutely love that, Bruce. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes.
A friendly reminder, folks, that back on the CarEdge.com website, when you are using the car search, if you have CarEdge Insights, you can actually get the invoice price for any new vehicle. So you can see here, this 2025 Ford F-150 XLT has an MSRP of $60,035 and an invoice price of $56,132. The target discount range is the expected dealer discount that you should be negotiating for as well. You can also get the window sticker, the buyer's guide, all that fun stuff. Actually, let's just see really quickly, 140 days supply. You also get access to that information. So really good stuff, and congratulations to Bruce on a job well done. Dad, I had one more story I wanted to cover. That being said, Rich is getting our attention here for a moment. We appreciate the kind contribution, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Pops, I know you sold, I know you know your cars, but did you know about this one, the 1939 Graham Shark Nose? I have no clue. I'm going to Google it, but
there'd be no reason for you to know, and I can honestly say there was no reason for me to know. And Rich, let me say this: I don't really know a lot about cars. You know, here I am. I'm a car guy. I've owned a lot of cars. I've appraised a lot of cars. I've driven a lot of cars, and for the most part, I hate cars. Cars were means to an end for me. That's how I made my living. But it didn't mean that I was so unenamored with cars that when there were auto shows, nobody would fight more than I would not to have to go to one. You know, I walked around cars in a showroom every day. I didn't need to go to a big convention center to walk around more cars on my time off. I could care less about most cars. What I care about is the pricing of automobiles and how to make it easier for people to get a reasonable deal when they're trying to buy one, because the way the system is set up, it pretty much means that you ain't going to get a good deal because, well, you don't know what a good deal is, and you don't know what all the tricks of the trade are at the dealerships that they utilize to see to it that they maximize their profits instead of minimizing them.
Yeah, so passionate about helping y'all, but not
necessarily passionate. But you know, the cars, there is only one car that I have ever driven that I was so enamored with that I would really overpay if I had enough money, that I would really overpay for to get. And that was the Audi RS6 Avant, I believe it was. That was like, just to me, the most amazing automobile in the way it rode, the way it handled, and just everything about it. But for the most part, I really could care less.
Pops, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Some of these automakers who are writing off their decision to have produced electric vehicles and now realizing it's not going to work. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
Polestar takes $739 million hit on dour outlook for electric crossover. They're writing off the Polestar 3 crossover.
Wow.
And it's going to cost them $739 million is what they're writing down here.
Wow. I did not see that. And, you know, is the reason for that because sales are somewhat flat for EVs in North America, or is it because sales for EVs are somewhat flat globally? Or that there's just so much competition with EVs out there today that it's harder and harder for these manufacturers who are building EVs to be able to make it a profitable venture. I don't know. I know I read today where Acura and Honda they're gonna go in more into hybrid vehicles as opposed to full battery electric vehicles, as they put it, as a bridge to get us to EVs.
Yeah.
And personally, I've been trying to help build that bridge, probably for 4 or 5 years now, saying I don't think you can take a substantial enough of the buyers out there from ICE to directly to EV in the numbers that you need, and that in order to get people acquainted with the idea and to become okay with the idea, you need to build that bridge. And in my mind, that bridge was hybrids
Sure.
and plug-in hybrids to get people there. And so many of these manufacturers are looking at that today and going, man, we should have done something along the lines that Toyota had been doing as opposed to what we had been doing.
There's also a story this morning, Dad, breaking from General Motors. They're stopping production of the GMC Hummer EV and Cadillac Escalade IQ.
Wow.
That started yesterday. Operation set to restart on October 6th. 360 workers affected. GM says it's a standard move to, quote, align production with demand. So there's another example of electric vehicles that were being produced that are now being paused for at least a month from General Motors because there's not the demand to sustain it. So Polestar, previously Volvo, Polestar writing down a $739 million loss, and General Motors pivoting away from producing the Cadillac IQ and the Hummer GMC EV. So really interesting stuff there when it comes to turning a ship that was headed in one direction, turning it in another. And to your point, Toyota looks like the smartest person in the room because they didn't go all in on electric vehicles. And heck, the one that they did, the wheels fell off anyway. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
Gosh, yes, the wheels on the EV just fall off.
Yeah, I mean, that was the recall that they had for the BZ.
Yes, indeed it was. Yeah. Yeah.
Folks, if we can help you out with anything, a friendly reminder, CarEdge.com. Shop new, shop used. CarEdge Insights, the tools that I was demonstrating earlier in the show, our free research center, tracking what your vehicle's worth, insurance, warranties, our AI negotiator. Folks, there's so much you can do, including our car buying services as well, back on CarEdge.com. Please check it out. Continue to share CarEdge with family, friends, and everyone in between. We appreciate those that support the business we've been building for almost 6 years now. It'll be 6 years in December.
Yes. May I say you sound a little nasally, young man.
I am a little nasally, a little phlegmy. I don't know what's going on, but I feel good.
Okay, well, as long as you feel good, then maybe the cold that you're getting won't feel as bad when it really catches on fully. Because it sounds like you're getting a cold.
I've got a half marathon in 11 days. So as long as I'm healthy for that,
define healthy.
I want to run a personal best. I'm trying to run in 90 minutes. So I need to be feeling good.
I can't wait. Yeah, I won't be there for it, but I can't wait.
All right,
matter of fact, I'm coming home the day before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We're back tomorrow, folks, with more CarEdge Live. Tune in, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Dad, I love you. Enjoy the afternoon. And I'll see you from New York tomorrow.
Yeah, I love you as well. Have a safe train travels to New York. I believe you're taking the Acela today.
I am. Yeah, 150, I think, is my train.
Well, you keep me posted as to how the new.
I'm not on one of the new trains.
I'm sorry to hear that.
They were so expensive to get on one of the new trains, so I just old train.
Well, yeah, old train's good enough. Yeah, no, I get it. Hopefully, I'm on one of the new trains. We'll find out when I come down to DC next Tuesday.
Can't wait. All right, Pops. Love you.
Love you too. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.